3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Welcome to the Remote Photography Podcast. In this episode, I speak with model Keira Lavelle about her remote photography experiences. Enjoy the podcast. Hi Keira, thanks for doing the podcast. If people don't know who you are, can you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Hey, yeah, it's cool to be here and chatting to you. My name's Keira Lavelle. I'm a UK-based model and actress. I do freelance work and I'm also signed with an agency as well. But basically my full-time income is through modelling and acting. And yeah, it's been like that for a good few years now. It's quite a creative lifestyle, so it suits me down to the ground. And yeah, I've shot with some really cool people sort of over the years, yourself included. Mm-hmm. So there we go. That's me.
Yeah, that's Keira. So obviously been shooting in person for quite a while now. How did you find out about remote photography? Was it someone approached you or you just saw it on like Instagram or Facebook or something like that?
I just sort of seen other people doing it. I mean, I've known about like shooting tethered for quite a while. You know, some people do that so they can see what they're getting. But with the remote side of things, yeah, it was literally sort of during the start of the pandemic. And obviously we weren't able to meet up in person anymore. And people were just finding different ways of still shooting, still being able to work together and create images without actually meeting up or sometimes not even leaving your own home. And at first I was like, wow, that's pretty ingenious, you know. I mean, I still think that now. I kind of like didn't sort of jump on it straight away because it just seemed so technical. It was like this new revolution of stuff. So I kind of hid under my little rock for a while, just sort of avoiding it and thought, it's okay, you know, and then eventually here I am, but, you know, on the bandwagon doing it and really enjoying it. It's good fun.
Yeah, because you were like quite a few people I've talked to that late coming to it because you weren't sure about it. Was it more like you say, the technical aspect? Was you were worried about not understanding it, or it's something you didn't want to pursue?
There was a couple of things for me. Initially, it was, I guess, because like you say, I'm quite an energetic person, and when I'm shooting in person, whether I'm on location or in the studio, I'm bounding around the place. I'm emptying my suitcase, I'm looking outfits around as you get excited and you get into the flow, and you know, you kind of like you bring up to the photographer, look at the back of the camera, it's like, no, I need to do that jump again, I'll do it more perfect for you. And there's a vibe going on, you know, there's this sort of vibe of energy that's on a shoot itself, and like I guess especially when you're on location too, you know, you hike into somewhere, you're seeing things out there when you're there. A lot of the time you can't plan exactly what you get on location, and there's a sort of element of spontaneity about it, and I guess that's something I really loved about my work and, you know, going out and shooting. With remote, obviously it's a lot more planned, it's a lot more like you discuss mood boards, you obviously know where you're going to shoot, and obviously the photographer isn't in the room, so you've got the cameras on a tripod. It's quite sort of well controlled. It's some studio in-person shoots are like that, some location shoots are like that, don't get me wrong. It doesn't necessarily like stop you, but there was a little bit of me that was worried. It's like, oh, you know, can I get my vibe into that? And I wasn't sure. So that was one thing. Another thing was, like you said, the technical aspect. And I don't even know, this is the most stupid thing, I don't even know why this bothered me, because I love getting my, you know, hands into technical stuff. You know, I've taken up doing self-portraits and a bit of photography myself over the pandemic, and I love it. You know, I love like problem solving and stuff. So I almost feel really stupid for this being a kind of deterrent, because once I get in there and I figure it out, I'm okay. And I mean, I overcame the technical side of things by having a one-to-one Zoom session with Natasha Bella, because she was one of the predominant models, just really nailing it. Time, you know, so her name was up there and she was just really smashing it. So we've been sort of chatting on comments on Facebook, and she's like, yeah, just, you know, drop me a message if you want any advice. So I did, and I was like, Natasha, I don't know what to do, please help. And we set up like a little face-to-face meeting. She showed me everything, talked through it brilliantly, like literally if nobody could have explained it better. And I was like, wow, it does seem a lot simpler than I guess my mind was worrying about. And then as I sort of did my first few, there was little things that, you know, you just sort of want to tweak, and you might mess up on some things, or, you know, the technology might not work. But once you overcome that, you learn to problem solve, and you just sort of, you know, you accept it for what it was, and, you know, the opportunities that it gave. I was like, wow, why did I not do this sooner? It was like, this fear and this sort of avoidance for nothing, because it kind of opened a whole different world. Sure, it's not the same as working in person, but my gosh, it has some great sort of scope to be creative.
Did it take you a couple of remote shoots to get used to it, or it was just something, as soon as you saw the first couple of pictures coming in, it just clicked in your head?
Pretty much straight away, almost, because I know a lot of models did quite a few practice runs. I did one with my other half, and bless him, he was so patient. He doesn't do photography at all, so it was literally just a case of asking him to shoot so I could see what it felt like doing the modelling in this situation. But yeah, I literally did the one sort of practice session with him, and then it was straight in there, because I was literally had like a bunch of people who'd already asked me if I was doing remote shoots, so they started coming in quite quickly, and part of it was learning on the job. And like literally it came very, I was surprised at just how quick it did sort of come to me, and sort of everything that Natasha had sort of mentioned to me was there in my head. It's like, oh yeah, if this problem happens, I just need to do this, I just need to do that. And yeah, sometimes things happen, like sometimes it was a case of, the card filled up, or I just needed to sort of rejig a file or something like that, but you kind of like just learn as you go along ways to quickly sort it out. And I think it's kind of like just not getting stressed about it, just sort of being calm. And because I think if you're calm as well and you're shooting, then they're sort of not so worried if you're obviously like, yeah, I'm just going to sort this out. And most people have been really understanding too, like they've not been like, and getting frustrated. I think most people know it's a new thing. And yeah, a couple of little clicks here and there and you're back on with it, when you get a little glitch or something. So a lot of it was learning on the job, and it did come quicker than I thought it would to, getting my system going. And yeah, now I'll sort of log into a Zoom and I'm about to start a remote shoot, and even if it's someone that has no experience with remotes, I've got my little tutorial sort of talk through I do.
You've got the pattern down,
yeah, it just becomes imprinted in your head,
So when remote shooting started, obviously you didn't start straight at the beginning. Did you have people approaching you as soon as remote shooting became a thing, or did they wait to see if you were going to do remote shooting yourself?
I did, yeah. I had loads of people that actually messaged me quite early on, and I'm talking, even within the first lockdowns and stuff. And basically, I was often just turning people away by this point, because I didn't have any of the stuff sort of ready to go or anything. So I was just being honest with people and saying, well, it might be something I set up in the future, but at the moment, it's not something I can offer. And some people were like, really, bless them. It was as if they were just sort of like, come on, we can do this, even if we use like a mobile phone. And I've not done that, but I've heard it's possible using like FaceTime and this kind of thing for a different way of remote shooting. But yeah, they were like really keen, and you can understand it, because everyone's sort of trapped at home. You're unable to do stuff and be creative. Everyone's got all this energy that they want to release and just connect with others and do stuff. So yeah, it was there was quite a few people sort of on my list to get back in touch with once I was set up. And that was probably a really big sort of push for me, just jumping in there, getting set up, but not sort of holding back, just going for it, because I'd already spoken to a few people who were super keen and sounded really supportive about it. So that was probably like, like the spark that just sort of gets you going, or the domino, like the domino effect. It was like the first thing that just clicks you, and then from there you do the next step to get yourself going.
So do you know how many shoots you've done, or you're one that doesn't keep count?
I have no idea. I know some people have been counting, but I'm just as bad with like real normal shoots as well. I just literally just do not. Honestly, I'm just generally bad with numbers. I can write, as you know, like when we're chatting on Facebook or whatever, the comment's like 6 pages long.
Yep, you do essays, as it were. Yeah.
I literally do. But yeah, with numbers, I have to sort of like think a bit harder. So I just make it easy for myself and don't count.
So is there a few people you can name off the top of your head that you've shot with so far?
Yeah, so I've shot with Gary McIver comes to mind, because we did a really fun sort of 60s pin-up set at my home. There's another guy called Black Mountain Photography. We've done 2 half days now, one at my studio / office building, which is just a few minutes from home, and the other one at my home. So we did like very different stuff at both the locations that I've got access to. And that was quite interesting, because we shot for obviously a significant period of time each time, and it was just fun seeing what we could do in each of the different scenarios. Someone else I shot with quite a few times, I'm name dropping him because he was one of the first people I shot with the very first day I even did a remote shoot with another photographer. I did 2 remote shoots in the same day. You know, talk about just throwing yourself in there. And I was shooting with him. So he was the second shoot. So we were both kind of brand new to it, you know. Again, he was great. Ian M, he's called. He was absolutely great. But then after that, the ideas started spinning. So it's like, oh, we could actually do this and do this. So we shot at one location the first time for just a couple of hours. Second time we shot at my home. And again, each time we shot, I found that ideas were developing and growing. And we're on to our third. I think we've done 3 remote shoots now. And each time we've shot, we've done something entirely different. But sometimes also developed ideas from a previous shoot. It can be you shoot in a particular corner of the room, and then one of you is like, oh, I tell you what we can do, this idea. And in that sort of reflection in that mirror of that little corner, I think that would work a treat. So it's always leaving something open to start with on the next shoot. Then you also do brand new stuff as well. So I think the shoots with Ian have been a great example of how, you know, rapports and creative relationships can fully develop in remote shoots just as they can in in-person shoots.
So have you found a lot of people, like you've mentioned that you've shot with a few photographers a couple of times, do you find they come back because they've got, like you said, new ideas, or they've just enjoyed the experience shooting with you?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of both. I hope it's a bit of both anyway. You'd like to think that they enjoy the shooting, but I think for one thing, it's the ideas is a big thing. And obviously everyone has been locked down. You know, there's nothing else you can do. Everyone is just bored crazy. So it's this sort of way to just actually connect with another human, you know, just speak to someone, because obviously you have the Zoom thing going. So that's a nice thing in itself. But then when you look through sort of you're going through the images as you shoot, and you send them over at the end, and you know, you have that little bit of excitement when you get a really cool set, and you can get that vibe off of each other, you know, just like you do in person when the model looks at the back of the camera, and if you do a particularly cool set, they normally jump up and squeal with excitement. But the same thing can happen with remote shooting. Obviously I'll see the picture first before the photographer does when I'm going through the file, and then I share screen. So they often see my expression first or hear my little squeal before they see it. And then obviously, you know, they'll get them sent over that evening into the next day so they can have a proper little look. And yeah, I think that people are just, it makes a spark go off in your head where you're thinking, actually, I can do this and I can do this, or I'd like to try this and like to try that. For me, it's been like that as well, because the more I've done, the more I've sort of come up with things that and ways to utilise my space too. So when people say, oh, Keira, I want your input, I've always got stuff stored in the back of my head of things to do. And like when we shot, you know, that was an amazing shoot.
That was an experience.
You know what? I've still got a shaft in my head. That's a lift shaft, by the way, just for anyone listening. Where we shot in a lift.
I'm glad you clarified that, because
I just thought I'd better do.
I would have to edit around that because it would sound weird. But I'm glad you clarified it. No, I was going to say, because we sort of had a mood board and plan, but you messaged me a little before going, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
Did you want to go with it? And I thought, it's Keira. I might as well just say yes and see what she comes up with. Yeah. And then as soon as you come on, it's like you're in a lift shaft coming down to put the camera down or something. And it was like, okay, we're doing this, are we? Yeah, okay. But no, it was great. I loved it. That's one of the things I love about, well, in-person photography as well, but remote photography is like you said, everyone suddenly gets ideas, and sometimes you just got to go with it. And like someone in a lift shaft in an office was not on the list. Yeah, it was not on the list. And exactly, it's not something that you would do every day. And it was like, it's Keira. She's going to pull it off. Let's go with it, yeah.
But that's it. And it's kind of, this idea came to me because, again, you're sort of thinking of different ways you can shoot and stuff. And I mean, I'd shot in the lift ages ago when the building was getting refurbished. It was sort of up and it was quite close in sort of stuff. So then when it all got sort of done out and things, and, you know, the lift was still able to come down, and there's quite a big space downstairs to get back the 85mm lens when it's on camera. So I was thinking, what can I do with that? And then one day all these boxes appeared, because my other half was just sort of obviously working. He was getting deliveries in of like supplies and stuff for his work. And, you know, all these boxes just appeared. And I was looking at them. I do this. Someone can just throw a whole lot of rubbish at me. And I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity here. So like all these cardboard boxes were there in this great big pile. And I was like, mine, this is mine. So I was like, right, lift cardboard boxes, and then I'm like, right, I'm going to make like a bespoke sort of bikini thingy to go with this, because I had this, best way to describe it is it's kind of packaging but shredded bits of cardboard. You get it sort of as like I guess it packs things out to stop things getting broken, but I had that at home, I'd say, from another delivery, which I planned to do something with. I wasn't sure, so that got made into like a bikini thingy. It's those crazy ideas that you couldn't suggest to anyone, you know. It's sort of like, it's quite a complex sort of thing to get your head around. So I kind of felt like this urge of confidence, like, and yeah, I'm so glad you were sort of up for it, because I mean, you know, you mentioned earlier, you know, is there any sort of like shoots you want to mention with people? And to be honest, I actually want to mention ours, because it was sort of one of the earlier ones I did, but just one of the most satisfying ones, in the sense that it was just completely random burst of creativity, and you and me bouncing off each other, even when we went upstairs and I was climbing in the line.
Yeah, it was like I say, luckily I'd worked with you a couple of years before, so I knew what to expect. If that had been my first time working with you, it might have been an experience.
Whoa.
But I already knew what to expect, so that's when you said, I've got this idea of a lift and cardboard, and it's like, okay, I know how Kira's mind works, let's just go with it and see what happens. And yeah, like as soon as we put those picture up, everyone's going, what, she's in the lift, how are you doing that? And yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes even though you've got a plan, you've just got to go, throw the plan away and go with what
I think I'd literally just got the not spindles. Someone called them spindles the other day, and I can't get it out of my head. The cable drums.
Yeah,
I'd only just acquired those as well, so it was like, oh, you know, they've got to use these, and time just flew. You know, it was kind of like one idea rolled to the next, and I'm doing the same now. I'm just acquiring stuff and sort of thinking, what can I do with this? I mean, the other day, a whole load of blue rope appeared in like the little studio space up here. And I was like, oh, this is going in my picture. So I'm there like setting up the background stand, throwing material over, photographer tunes in. Again, like yourself, you know. I mean, to be fair, I gave you a prior warning via message, but this guy didn't have any prior warning. He just sort of tuned into the Zoom, and I was like, I've got all this blue rope. Want to do something with it? And he was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And yeah, that was kind of like, so the blue rope was hung on the background stand in the background, and it was sort of like pushed out of focus with the 85mm lens, because the plan for that day was to use some of the crystal lingerie I make, and I had this blue set, and with the blue rope just going out of focus in the background, it just looked so cool. But it was literally there the day I came down to get ready for the shoot, and I was like, oh, here's an opportunity.
So you just took it. You're like, it's there, right? Let's do this. Yeah, because that you never know. That probably won't be there another time you want to shoot it. And it's like, okay, this could be unique pictures. But I'm literally looking at your Instagram now of that picture. And yeah, it's like, you know, Kira's done a set when she's just thrown the string around, cable, drums and stuff like that. And he's in a bikini in the hills. Okay.
That's the one. Yeah. It's so funny. I mean, it's still actually there in the pile because I made a total mess of it. I think my other half was actually trying to get it organised into a nice, neat roll, and I just messed it up even more. So I was like, I'm so sorry, but it was worth it.
Well, you mentioned your lenses and stuff. What's the current setup you have for remote shoots?
So at the moment, I've got a Canon 5D Mark IV camera body. When I first got it, I bought it off a photographer friend, and it came with an 85mm lens and a zoom lens, a 28-300, 3.5 to 5.6 zoom one. The 85mm is probably my fave, just in that it gives beautifully crisp images, and like, you know, as I say, it's lovely when it can throw the background out of focus. The only trouble is it's the space, and obviously when you're shooting at home, you know, and you're just trying to get angles, it's not always possible to use that lens. So those were the ones I started off on, and it gave me enough variety, you know, to do bits and pieces. I could then use the zoom one to get further out. And then I've got, like, lighting wise, I've got quite a lot of lighting actually. I had two sort of big octabox sort of umbrella softboxy type things from even before when I was doing like video stuff and bits of self-portrait work for myself. So they tend to be like my main lights. I've also got a 14-inch ring light which has two colour temperatures, so I can make that sort of orangey warm or pure white, I guess daylight you sort of say. Since then, I've also invested in a few more bits and pieces. So I've got a set of gels, 4 floodlight gels, LEDs, which have loads of different colour settings on them, and they're great. I can put them on the background. I can, you know, put them in a room and make that room sort of red whilst I'm outside the room, and you've got sort of this vibe going on in the room with red and purple and all this kind of thing going on. Or I can actually use them to sort of obviously light up the body, or, you know, do something really funky and stylised. So they're quite versatile, I found. Got a couple of little fill lights that I just use for if I just need to fill in shadows. Got a reflector. I've got a flash gun, which I'm actually still to use the flash gun. I'll probably sort of play with that when I've just got a little hour by myself and I can just get to grips with it and stuff like that. I've got an LED portable cordless one as well, which I actually bought between restrictions last year. And it's great because that was the one that when we did our lift shot, I tied it in the top of the shaft and sort of pointed it down. So
I think I know what you mean, to give some light coming down,
That's it. And it was some lights, it wouldn't be possible to do that. But this is like, I just was able to strap it right to sort of the bar and that gave the perfect bit of light coming down. But I love that light. It's you've got to make sure you've always got charge on it, mind you, if you're actually going out where there's no electricity. But I got it when I was due to be going out on location between restrictions last year. And I planned to, initially it was going to be okay to shoot at home, indoors with other people. But we got given some local restrictions, which was really annoying. So one of my shoots, it was going to affect. So I'm thinking, right, for this set, we wanted to get some like portraits and stuff. And it was something we really wanted to do, creative makeup and portraits. But we couldn't shoot inside. The law was saying we couldn't be inside together, yada, yada, yada. So I'm thinking, right, okay, location it is all day. So a few of the locations I actually have on my radar near me are sheltered, like, they're sort of urbexy type places. They're obviously sort of open air, so they're obviously, safer than being in like a small living room together. But I thought, right, we've got shelter from the rain if we need it. There's like obviously space to set up backgrounds and all this kind of stuff. I just need lights, The sun's great when it comes out. I mean, this is Yorkshire, You plan for rain, you get sun. You plan for sun, you get rain. It's just how it works up here. So I got this light, which is actually like a sort of industrially tradesperson light, and it's just for lighting up dark rooms whilst people are working. But it's great because I can soften it. I've actually got a little sort of cube modifier that I can put the light in to completely soften it, or I can use it as it is. And it's just so versatile. I can just do all sorts of things with it, put it in all kinds of places because it's quite small and it just gives off an incredible amount of light. So yeah, I love my little cordless one. And I think that's it for lights at the moment. But I tell you what, I feel for photographers now because there's always little gadgets here and there that you think, oh, just do with that. So I'm really starting to feel pity for photographers on that front.
Yeah, it's called gas, Keira, and it means you just want to buy everything. So yeah.
It's like, I just need that in my life, and you use it once and then never again for 2 years.
Well, saying about sets and stuff as well that you mentioned earlier, you've transformed the office you have access to and your home into like very unique sets and colourful sets. So say like some steps you've painted into almost like a rainbow.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it came with doing a lot more shoots at my home and, obviously the office than I would normally do. So it's kind of got my brain ticking over. And I don't know what it is. I think I've always got this itch to do something different, even though my current setup works beautifully. I can shoot with several people in the same set or at my home and still get unique results. But my brain's just always ticking over. How can I make stuff different? What can I do? So the studio, it's basically just sort of a big white room, but I've sort of kitted that out with the cable drums, which are great props. Sometimes I bring parts of our coffee table from home, which are nice little posing cubes. Oh, it's hilarious. I just sort of throw them in the back and I don't know what the neighbours must think, but there you go. And I've got sort of the downstairs, which is basically a working office. That's my partner's office. I can go down there and sort of, set things up there. But yeah, my home, it was the attic stairs that's become the rainbow stairs.
Okay.
And that came about because the attic is just full of stuff. That's just a storage place at the minute. Just all the stuff that we need to sort out and just have there. But the stairs up we put in when we moved in, so that it was just like a little, what do you call it, a shaft on the ceiling. You go in with a ladder. That's what it was when we moved in. But we put the stairs in with the view that it could potentially be another bedroom or something. It kind of just was left for a while because, as I say, the attic was full of stuff. There was no reason to ever go up there. But then when I was doing remote shooting and I was always looking for different ways to utilise my space, it kind of came to me, it's like, I could paint these stairs rainbow coloured and that would be a really fun background. There was loads of people doing different things, modifying their sets to personalise what they want to shoot. But I know I do sort of a lot of crazy shapes. People know me for doing like bendy shapes and stuff, that sort of thing in a big environment, and or climbing up mountains and hanging out of trees. But I actually love, colour. I love sort of stylized, creative stuff. So this came about, and I said to my other half, it's like, oh, what do you reckon about painting the attic stairs rainbow coloured? It'd be cool, that. And he was like, what? Just like, say what? But once I sort of talked him around a little bit, and he was like, right, okay, it was just like, what have I just agreed to? But once I did it, he was like, you know what? Fair play. It does look So yeah, I've now got this like insanely colourful stairs going up to the attic, and I can shoot in this like little space in so many different ways. Up to now, I've like dangled the camera, gone upstairs with the camera, dangled it down, pointing down. I've done this mad sort of falling down the stairs, laying on the stairs sort of pose. I could obviously stick the camera in the landing, just shoot direct there, and sit on the stairs like a normal human being. But I've also played with my gels as well and lit the attic up into a particular colour or something like that. And that worked incredible, because you've just got this, I'm sat there on the stairs looking down at the camera like I own the place, and then all this colour behind. I was just like, I was really excited about that shot, because I just thought, it's ways that you can just do stuff, and you wouldn't think, you look at that shot and think, God, this must have been taken in a really cool place, and it's just my little house, that's the sort of thing which you get the pictures back, or you look at the pictures after, and it's like, wow, you don't necessarily need a lot of stuff. You can just use your resources, your personal resources, create something really, really cool.
Yeah, because I'm looking at a couple of pictures. Like, there's one of you, is it eating cherries in a bath in Pink Hills?
Oh, that's the bathtub job.
Yeah, and then there's one of you in the shower with like a purple light as a.
Love that one.
As a light. So you're literally on like a fireplace. I'm seeing that was from the very first ones you were doing, wasn't it?
That was actually a test shoot I did, with my partner.
You've literally used, I would say, probably all of your house, but you've shot it in different ways that unless you knew the layout of your place, people wouldn't think it was in the same place, because everything's like, for you, it has to be unique, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Whenever I shoot with someone, I'll always try and do my best to offer them something unique. I mean, with remote shooting, it's just like an in-person shoot. A photographer is, they're the client. They're more than welcome to come along and book me and direct, send me a move on and say, I really, really want to achieve this and that. But also, I found that in the past, a lot of people like, the input from models and stuff like that, especially if they're doing it as a hobby, or they're not necessarily massively experienced, or some people just struggle coming up with new ideas. I shot with one guy, and we had a fantastic shoot, but he said to me beforehand, I sometimes struggle with ideas, so the more input you can give, the better. And I was like, great stuff, you just sort of off then, and it really just sort of encourage you more to create something that's totally new, and you can look at as a model and feel proud to be in that image too. But it's I think because obviously I'm doing more shoots at my home, other people wouldn't necessarily be bored of my sets, or sort of look at it and think, oh, it's another shot of Keira sat on her sofa. But I would look at it and be like, I need to jazz this up. I know it's, people want to shoot on the sofa and stuff, and it's a set that works, it's proven to work in the past, but I need to make it sort of better and find out ways to give that one person that's shooting today something unique to the next person that I'm shooting with tomorrow. There's always been that, even when I'm shooting face to face.
It's also you're helping your creative brain, because you're trying to think of new ways to present the set. So it's making your brain go, okay, I need to shoot it this way, or I need to change the light, I need to use gels and stuff. So I'm guessing it's helping you as well. How can I say it? It's helping you being innovative. That's the word I was looking for. Innovative. So like as you say, as each photographer comes to do their remote shoot, you're not shooting the same thing. You're shooting something different, be it lighting or a different kind of set.
Yeah, exactly. It's really beneficial on that front, and I think the technical side as well. Because obviously before, as a model that's modeled for a fair few years, you know a bit about lighting, and obviously how to pose in it. But for doing the remotes, and where I'm actively playing quite a big role in positioning the lights, setting them up, or suggesting to photographers where the lights might go for a good effect or whatever, I'm learning a lot on that front. And then, obviously, as and when we can go back to in-person shooting, I work with someone who completely is a beginner and doesn't know, anything about lighting. That confidence that I've gained through remote shooting, that additional confidence, I can use to help someone in the future, even if it's a remote shoot or it's an in-person shoot. I think it's been a fantastic learning curve. And as you were saying just a moment ago, in terms of your own innovation too, because that sort of willingness to take a place apart or, adjust it or, adapt it, you can use anywhere. You can go into a studio and you can run around the place and do stuff that maybe you haven't seen in that studio or a location, go back to locations that you've shot at before and do something completely different because your brain's sort of on that way of thinking.
Being on the model side, when photographers come to do remote, are you finding a lot of them now are used to it, or are you still getting some that it's their first one and they've decided to do their first remote with you?
I get a mixed bunch. So at this stage, most people have done at least one or two, but I'm still getting a lot of people who haven't done any at all. And what was a big thing, which I didn't even take into account, was schools recently went back in the UK. Before they went back, we were in lockdown and everyone was sort of at home. So a lot of people were shooting because they were bored, but actually there was a lot of people busy at home, schooling the kids and things like that. So a lot of people weren't available because the computer was taken up through that or that kind of thing. So as we're actually leaving restrictions, I'm getting sort of a new group of people coming to me, saying, oh yeah, I wasn't able to shoot before, but now I am, now I'm sort of available again. I find that that's quite interesting. And a lot of the people sort of I'm shooting with now are still a mixed bunch of people. They haven't had the chance to shoot throughout the pandemic because they've been sorting things out themselves. I think, as much as people think that even though we've been in lockdown and we've been told to sort of, not do anything, a lot of us still have been busy because if you run your own business, you've been obviously running around dealing with stuff. If you've been working from home or furloughed and things, you might be doing a lot more sort of in the office or at your computer than you'd normally do to make up for not being able to go into the office and do stuff. So it's been a weird sort of fake busy everyone's been throughout this last year. And I think now as things change and, sort of steps are taken to hopefully slowly, get out of the lockdown and the restrictions, people's circumstances are changing and people are thinking, right, I don't feel comfortable going and doing an in-person shoot just yet, but I would love my remote shooting. So that's great.
So you're saying you like building sets and obviously doing the outfits and stuff. Everything's slowed down a bit more as it would be in person. Do you find the limitations have helped you be creative, be it with sets or outfits? Or do you find it slowed down is a different change of pace for you?
No, I find that the limitation of not being in the same room probably does make me innovate more because the photographer is essentially at the mercy of the model, being able to, build a setup or set the lights up or, grab an outfit. You can lift the laptop up and sort of give them a bit of a guided tour and things, but it's still not the same as being in the room. So a lot of the time the photographer does rely on the model to innovate like that. So I found that working remotely has pushed me creatively, because I'm thinking, right, they're up for trying a remote. I want to sort of give them the best possible experience they can have. And, as I say, you're always wanting to sort of adapt your space. So it's made me think more about what I can do and use lights in different way. I mean, before, when I shot in person at my home, 9 times out of 10, I would just use natural light because, let's face it, people love natural light. It's beautiful when it works. It's easy to work with a lot of the time if it's constant. I mean, like I say, in Yorkshire, it changes every 2 minutes. So there you go. It's something that a lot of people enjoy working with. So I would most of the time just use natural light at my home. But with all the lights and stuff that I've acquired and all the different ways I've been thinking to do stuff, it's made me use my lights at home. And as I say, that's the purple shot in the bathroom that you pointed out. That was done with gels. So we had a light, the portable light was, just sort of sat on the windowsill pointing at me. And then there was gels flooding the actual back. And it was just insane. It looks like this full-on disco going on in the back. So, I kind of like, even when I come back to in-person shooting at my home, I'll still be sort of up for it if the photographer's up for it. Doing it that way, making the shot pop a bit more by doing something crazy with the lights or, just trying something a little bit different, taking control of the set and just making it jump out at you. Because, standing by the window, little bit of material, a little sort of shirt thing, always works. It always looks aesthetically pleasing. It's a shot that a lot of people will think to do with a model when they come and shoot them at their home. But there's so many ways to actually just make crazily creative stuff. So, and I've learned that through remote. Remote has been responsible for me thinking that way and looking at my space and thinking, no, I can do this or I can do this. So yeah, I wouldn't even say like you'd say, oh, it's a limitation in the sense that they're not in the room with you, but you excel more, I think, to make up for that. So it kind of balances out a bit.
But are you finding with, say, photographers in different time zones, you're obviously, you can't rely on natural light because sometimes they may be in a time zone that's like half a day ahead or behind, and by the time they shoot with you, it's dark. So, as you said, you've learned to like use constant lights and such, so that lets you shoot whenever you want to. You're not stuck to being when it's daylight, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, especially during the winter that we've just had, it was like dark at 3:00. So great if you can schedule in something in the morning. But for example, shot with someone from Chicago, and he was like an early bird. He was like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I could shoot at 7:30. So it was 7:30 at his gaff, and I think it was 1:30 where I am. So we were able to make use of the natural light. But say if he wanted to shoot more at like 12:00 his time, in winter time it's going dark, or it's already dark here. Yeah, like you say, having the lights there, you're not relying on that. You can still do whatever you want to do, and you're not sort of having this issue of there not being light outside to do it.
Out of all the remotes you've done, where have people been that they've photographed you from?
I've had people around Europe up to now. America, I've had quite a few from America that I've shot with. So I've done Belgium, Germany a few times, quite a lot in the UK actually, and a fair few sort of America. I know some models have shot with people over in like Singapore and places as well, but not shot with anyone over that way just yet. But I think that's one of the big advantages of remote, that you can connect with someone anywhere in the world. There are no limits in that sense.
And did you find it would the people in the UK took longer to start doing remotes, or it was just everyone at the same time?
I think initially there was a lot more reluctance to start with, and probably for similar reasons to myself. People were just a bit sceptical. Can they make it as good or as enjoyable as they would doing a normal in-person shoot? So people held off. I think restrictions easing in the summer gave us a bit of hope, thinking actually we don't need to do it. Certainly that was how I felt in the summer. Any little bit of pondering I might have done last spring was kind of like hit with, oh, it's summer now and things are starting to ease, things are getting better. So I'm able to go out and work in person again. So there's no point in investing all this money to do remotes. And then we had more lockdowns, didn't we?
It was December, wasn't it?
Yeah, later in the year. The November lockdown, I actually kept pretty busy with other projects, but I was still, at this point, it was in my head, I do want to do remotes, but I just needed to get the right stuff in place, as I say. So I was like thinking about it a bit more then, but come the December lockdown or the just after Christmas, it was like, no, I'm doing this now. And I think a lot of people were probably in the same boat because we'd all experienced lockdown and what it was like. We all knew sometimes it could go on for months, months where you've got no human contact, you're not speaking to anyone, you're not doing the things that you love doing. A lot of people knew that, it was going to be a long, hard winter, but we didn't have the sun to make us that
Exactly, yeah.
So I think a lot more people were willing to jump on it in the winter lockdown.
Yeah, I did see a lot of people in December suddenly go, okay, I'm going to do remotes come the new year because, like you say, it was darker and we'd done lockdowns during the spring and summer when it was light, but during the winter everyone was like, okay, this could go on a bit longer now. So they literally jumped in it like yourself, like Artemis, who hadn't done it before, said, okay, now I'm going to dip my toe in. If I like it, I'll carry on. If not, at least I've tried it.
Well, yeah. I think a lot of people were in the same mindset. Like yourself, I saw a lot of people saying, right, now's the time to do it. It was just that jump and that push that everyone needed because, it was darker, it was colder, it was sort of, we knew what to expect, that we could be months down the line and still not be allowed out. So quite a bit of a revolution everyone made, really, wasn't it?
So when you're going to do a shoot, how would you prefer a photographer to approach you?
What will normally happen is someone will send me an inquiry and say, oh, I'm interested in doing a remote shoot with you. If it's someone I've never worked with before, I'll often initiate what would they like to achieve. It's about them, they're hiring me. What do they want to achieve from this experience. So, and sometimes they've got a clear idea in their head of what they want to do. They'll send me images out of my own portfolio, sometimes out of other models' ports, and say, yeah, in a mood board form, this is what I'd like to achieve. And the conversations can go on, and then it can sort of diverse and go off on different sort of routes. And sometimes it can end up where you're actually talking about something completely different to what you started talking about. But ultimately, I'll always sort of encourage them to, if they want to shoot something or achieve something, it's their call. They're the boss. Go for it. It's the wrong sort of term to use, I guess, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like you want them to be involved and actively achieve something out of the shoot that they're happy with. If someone comes to me and says, like I've had before, really sort of not confident with ideas, I struggle on the creative front, please, if you want to give input, if you want to just lead the shoot, please do. Once I've got sort of some kind of indication that they are willing to accept ideas and stuff, I'll go crazy. If I know the person and I've shot with them before and I know that they welcome input from models, then I feel you have that more confidence to just sort of suggest this and to suggest that, especially if you've worked with them before and you know photographically what they're capable of. Because again, I know they're not in the room and they can't do, say, some photographers might lay on the floor and be looking up at the model like this, but you know that person can achieve this or achieve that. And sometimes if a specific idea involves just tweaking the settings a lot and fiddling around in that scenario, you know that someone who does a particular style might just be better at it or be able to smash it. So that'll sort of get my brain working if I know a person's ability photography wise. Yeah, I've always got like a little stash of ideas, and as soon as like the floodgates open for them to say, go for it, Keira, give us your ideas, I just don't stop. I'm just like, all right, let's do this. And especially if I've been sort of pondering for different ways to shoot at my home, then I'll always just sort of throw those in the mix as well and say, oh, well, as it happens, I've been thinking about this different way to shoot if you're up for it. So that can sometimes be it, just because I've had been thinking different ways to shoot my different sets, and then the next victim that comes along, I'll just sort of just, say, do you fancy doing this?
Yeah, like I say, going back to our examples, when we sort of discussed some ideas, but then literally on the day you had the cardboard and stuff, and it was like, yeah, I know how Keira works. She's going to do something unique. So I just went, yeah, we're going to throw out the ideas we were talking of. And you did the lift, you did those real wheels that you had just got. What else did we do?
We did the lights with the
you did, because I joked, it's like, oh, you should climb in the lights, and you nearly tried to climb into one of the lights, and it was like,
yeah, don't dare.
Yeah, I can't be literal with Keira because she would try to do it. So.
Oh dear. But yeah, that was it. And it was spur of the moment. This great massive cardboard appeared and our shoot was coming up, and it's like, oh my God, we can make something of this. So yeah, that's when the suggestion got fired out, and it can just be something that you've seen recently or you put aside, or a new outfit, you'll just be sort of browsing. I did that before, where I bought a specific accessory for this photographer for his shoot, his remote shoot that he was wanting. And on the same website, like I bought like a few other little bits and pieces. So then for other shoots, I've incorporated them as an idea then, because you've just sort of acquired them randomly, or you've made something, you've designed something. So there's always new stuff sort of coming along and things like that. But yeah, even if someone messages me and is like, right, I want to, do something similar to these and, try and achieve this. I'd like to try and achieve this lighting. I'm there to help. That's sort of my job.
So speaking of messaging, how do people approach you? Has it been through your Instagram, through your website, through Facebook groups, or any other form?
Bit of everything. There's a few like modelling portfolio sites, so you can put casting calls up on there and advertise that you're offering this. So I've had a fair few messages from there, from like UK-based photographers and international photographers, to be fair. Facebook's quite a good platform because there's several Facebook groups dedicated to remote shooting. So there's a lot of people in there from all over the world, and you can post saying, oh, I'm available, these are my sets, and showcase, your images and your areas that you can shoot in. So they're quite good. I've had quite a few leads from my actual personal website as well. I do need to, come to think of it, I do need to completely redesign my website because I haven't added anything for remote shooting up to now. I've just been so busy with actually doing the shoots. I could just do with having a page there saying, obviously, I'm available for them now, but into the future too. So I do need to rejig my website, but I think whereas people might have seen you on another site or page somewhere, advertising, it's always good to have a site, because even if they're not a member of that site or something, they can always follow your website and go direct.
So going forward to when, fingers crossed, in the summer we can do normal shoots again, do you think remotes is going to be something you'll be able to offer? Okay, maybe not as much as you can compared to in-person shoots, but is it something that you'll take going forward now?
Definitely. I'm going to carry on offering them for, time to come. My general sort of schedule and plan and habit before the pandemic and lockdown and things was I do tours. So I sometimes went away for a week, up to 2 weeks at a time. I ran my own events as well. So if I had like a week or two in between those where I was at home, I was available to do local shoots. So I'd pop a casting out saying, hi, I'm available to do local shoots. I can shoot at my home or I've got locations. So now I will literally just do the same sort of thing, advertise, right, I'm between tours, I can do location, shoot at my home or offer remote. And now, obviously, with the remotes as well, you can sort of target areas much further afield. That's quite nice in that you can stay connected to people further afield long into the future. Another thing that I'm thinking of doing is with events and stuff, if you do something like really specific, as I say, I do events abroad and stuff and hire out, really nice places to shoot at. Those are often, they're quite date specific. If someone can't make it, there's limited spaces and obviously the dates are very specific. So it might actually just be nice to do a few more days like on back of an event and offer remote shooting, if for whatever reason someone can't get there. Chances are, if you've got a really nice location that looks out into a beautiful landscape, you can still use the Wi-Fi of the place where you're staying and shoot, the beautiful locations and surrounds that are there. Obviously, I haven't yet done that. I know some people have hired places out and shot at different venues or even on location. So the possibilities are clearly there. But I think I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Yeah. I think I've had sort of more confidence just shooting at my home and at my locations where I know everything is. I know where the lights are, all my power sources, camera, everything. I kind of know it quite well. So, rather than, book places out where I don't know how reliable the Wi-Fi is or anything like that, it's just been easier to stick to my locations. And then once we sort of get allowed out again, I can think about touring and booking a place where I would use for in-person shoots, but also just throwing in to my usual adverts that I would send out that I can also remote shoot there and offer a creative sort of time to people that can't be there.
Do you find, because looking at your portal and your Instagram, you shoot a lot of different styles across the board. Do you find that's changed with remotes or it stayed the same?
It's probably been more, how do I say it? Not dynamic or dynamic and varied probably because again I've been pushing myself and excelling myself to do different stuff. Again, you can stand by a window and just model sort of nice art nudes in the natural light and it always works, it always looks nice. But when you're sort of every single person you're shooting with is shooting you at your home or at your studio, it's just that extra push you give yourself to make it different. Because before, if I went on a 2-week tour, I would start sort of never stay in the same place too long. So say if I was going down to Kent, for example, I would probably make 1 or 2 stops on the way down in the Midlands or around London, shoot at a studio of someone's preference or their personal place. You're shooting at completely different places with different people. And then, you get down to where you're going to be. Again, you're shooting in different studios, different locations. And that would be the situation on pretty much every single day that I'm on tour. So you're doing different tours in different areas, all in different studios and locations. It mixes it up. But when you're in lockdown for several months and you're shooting in the same place, it does, you're thinking, your brain is doing extra overtime to think, how can I make this different? So that you're looking back at the images that you've done over a week. Say if you've remote shot every day a week, you can look back and think, God, I've done something different every day, and that just encourages you to do it more.
Here's a question I haven't asked anyone, so you're going to be the first one. Is like, do you think remote shooting is going to affect you touring now, or is it just going to be something you're going to be able to add when you're touring, like you say, when you go to studios or locations?
I think it's going to be just a nice little add-on. I don't think it'll probably change the way that I used to tour. So I know a lot of people used to sort of go to one place. They might have stayed in the same place for a week, and it's nice and easy. It means that you're not doing a lot of travelling. I'll probably still do the way that I did before, because as I say, I'm quite a prominent location model. So, you're traveling to a specific location for that particular scene. What I might do is for a section of my tour, either at the end, in the middle, or at the beginning, I might look at hiring a place out that, offers something a bit different and just, especially if I'm driving, I know it's a bit harder if you're taking the train and you've always got a lot of stuff to lug around. It's a bit of you'd be a bit concerned if you had like your camera and all your gear as well with you. But if you've got the car and you've got the space, you can just chuck all your stuff in and still offer it as an additional, and say to people, I'm touring, I've got this really nice venue, I can shoot with people obviously locally in the area, in that area, or I can do remotes with anybody anywhere.
Out of all the work you see people doing remotes, like photographers, is there any photographers you'd like to work with? Because now's the time to put it out there.
Yeah, so I wouldn't isolate any particular person necessarily, because I've seen loads of different people sort of producing fabulous work, who clearly specialise in different styles. And because I'm a model who I've never really had a pigeonhole as such, I just love working with people of all different creative abilities. So what I'm trying to say is I just welcome anyone that's willing to have me, anyone that's sort of up trying remotes, I'm sort of there and I'm all game, I particularly like working with people when I've shot with them before in person, because I guess I just like sort of seeing what you can produce remotely versus in person. And as I think I said before, like a lot of the time their sort of style has shined through within the remote sort of way of working, which is quite cool. Anyone who is new to it or, is like potentially scared of trying it, honestly, just give it a go. And I think probably speak on sort of most in terms of how most models sort of approach it and are feeling. It's like you're very welcome to just have a whirl. There's no pressure. Don't feel like you've got to literally get in there and produce millions of amazing photos straight away. Just have a go. Obviously, there's ability to sort of work with people who are thousands of miles away from you potentially. Your reach is like really, really good with this new platform of technology that's allowing us to work together. Honestly, I welcome anyone that's prepared and willing to give it a go. I'm there with open arms.
So thanks for doing the podcast, Keira. Is there places like your website, social, that people can find you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm on pretty much all the social media platforms. Insta, at Keira Lavelle. It's Keira, because a lot of people sometimes get the I and E mixed up. My website is www.keiralavelle.co.uk, where there's all my work and stuff is showcased there. There's like a contact form as well, which if people want to contact me, they send a message in the contact form and it'll go direct to my personal email. I'm on Facebook too, so if people are in the industry, they can add me, drop me a message, and then I know sort of who people are. I'm on all the portfolio sites too, so yeah, anyone can find me on there, and it's the same name across all of them. Yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere. It's pretty consistent. Keira Lavelle, you'll find me.
Yeah, just type it in and you'll find us somewhere. Cheers for doing the podcast, and I think we're going to wrap it up now, so thank you for doing it.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for inviting me along. It's been awesome talking to you, and yeah. So yeah, if you haven't shot with Keira yet, shoot with me. Deep breath in, deep breath out.
You're not helping, thanks.
Sorry. I'm just going to take my shoes off because they're squeaking.
Too much information, but...
I'm like, no, I'm just like sat on the floor and they're rubbing together and they're like patent material just squeaking.
So that all... Let me do that again, right?